It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Gary Cornelius. He retired in 2005 from the Fairfax County, Virginia office of the sheriff with a rank of first lieutenant. His service with Fairfax began between 1978 and ran until 2005 and included work in confinement, work release, programs, administrative services, and classification. Gary taught 4 corrections courses for George Mason University from 1986 to 2018. He also teaches Corrections Academy in-service sessions throughout the state of Virginia and conducts training and consulting for Lexipol and Justice Clearinghouse. Books he has authored include The Correctional Officer, A Practical Guide, 3rd edition, 2017, by the Carolina Academic Press. He has authored several other books in corrections, including The Art of the Con, Avoiding Offender Manipulation, 2nd edition, 2009, from the American Correctional Association. The American Jail, Cornerstone of Modern Corrections, 2008, from Pearson Prentice Hall. And The High Performance Correctional Facility, Lessons on Correctional Work, Leadership and Effectiveness, from the Civic Research Institute, 2022. His latest book is Stressed Out, Strategies for Living and Working in Corrections, 3rd edition, 2024, from Carolina Academic Press. Gary is active in the International Association of Correctional Training Personnel and has appeared on CNN, MSNBC, and Tier Talk on YouTube, discussing corrections, security, training, and staff issues. He resides in Williamsburg, Virginia. Gary, I want to thank you personally for including references to the Mindfulness-Based Wellness and Resiliency course, which the center has offered in various jurisdictions for a number of years, as well as this call that we are on tonight, Mindful Public Safety Hour, and getting the word out about that. So thank you so much. You've told us you're open to taking questions during the presentation, so I would encourage people to post them in the chat and raise their hand on camera or use the Zoom participation button. Gary, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert, John, Fleet, and everyone who is in attendance tonight or is going to view this on YouTube. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. That was a nice introduction, Robert. I really appreciate it. And tell you a little bit more about me. I was deputy sheriff in Fairfax County, Virginia, office of the sheriff. And those of you familiar with that part of the country, Fairfax is about 15 miles maybe west of Washington, D.C. It's in Northern Virginia. I started out in a linear jail that held about maybe 80 inmates, and when I retired, the jail had I'm ballparking it here, but it had a capacity of about 1,250 inmates. I was served there from 1978 to 2005. My original job in law enforcement was a police dispatcher on a dispatcher desk in for Allegheny County Police, my hometown of Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh originally. Then after college, I joined the U.S. Secret Service Uniform Division, then spent a few years at Herndon Police in Northern Virginia. But I always had an interest to work in a jail. So in 1978, I went down and started work in a jail, and I retired in February of 2005. I had assignments in confinement, classification, work release, planning and policy development. Every job assignment had its own stress. So I started learning about stress, and I'm going to go into my story a little bit later. I did instruct at George Mason University and for academies in Virginia, and there's some of the books that I've written. And in that career in the jail, I saw a lot of change. I saw change in the training and the equipment and what we know about offenders, inmates. I use those terms interchangeably because when I do a stress class, sometimes it's for civilians and like probation, parole. But there developed more training and discussion about the stress and corrections. And law enforcement, your police, your corrections, your EMT, your fire, your first responders, they're all stressful jobs. And thank you for mentioning my books. And there's a reason I'll get to that I started writing. Stressed Out is the book that just came out, and Carolina Academic Press has graciously offered a coupon code if you use that when you order it. And Civic Research Institute, Mark Peel in New Jersey, a promo code for that. They're both great to work with, and they're both great publishers, and I'm very honored to work for them. But tonight we're going to talk about stress and corrections. Okay? You have the people working in the institutions. And some of the institutions are old, some are new. The picture, I chose that picture, I found that online, and that looks pretty much like the jail I started in. Dark hallway, iron bars, and so forth. You have community corrections, your work release centers, your pre-release, your inmate work crews that you see working on the roads, picking up trash. That's all part of community corrections. You have juvenile corrections, which in my view is often overlooked. And we cannot overlook the fact that there are very, very good men and women working in the juvenile corrections field. And then you have probation and parole, and we're all part of the same team. Corrections was a good career for me. I was asked when I retired at my retirement party, which totally surprised me. I didn't want one, but hey, my two kids said, "Hey, you're having one," and they planned it. So, but I was asked when I retired what I came away with 27 years and a couple of and some change, a couple of months, and I said no 2 days in corrections are alike. They're not alike. Every day is different. And the other thing is that nothing surprises me. You turn on the news and I can hear of a serious crime. And if you work in a jail, you deal with all kinds of offenders and all kinds of criminals. And it really, you get to the point where I won't say numb, but you get to the point where nothing surprises you. The sworn staff and non-sworn, they have something in common. They work in buildings or agencies where the residents, the clients, whatever, the offenders, the inmates, don't wish to be or don't wish to be a part of. And they work with offenders who resist their authority by manipulation or just flat out refusing to obey orders or do not cooperate. And they confront that every day. And one of the things I believe I put on the back of the book, and my editor said that's pretty profound. And I said, well, it's true. And I put on there that it has been said that some occupations will eat you up and spit you out if you let them. And one of those occupations is corrections. It will, if you do not manage the stress, it will eat you up and spit you out. You're going to have physical problems, medical problems, your behavior will change, and stress is there. You cannot get away from it. It's there. But you must understand that what the effects are and what you can do about the stress and corrections. The keys are how stress affects you and what you can do about it. And if you're talking about stress management, everybody is different. Everyone is different and has different methods that works for them. I knew people that would go to the gym and lift weights, okay, which I don't do. I like to swim laps, but I don't lift weights. But it works for them. Then you have some people that come home and they sit and relax, just like we started the session with, which was very good. The breathing, calming themselves down, that works for them. The thing about stress management, you have to find what works for you and take that approach. Now, people have asked me, I'm not a professional writer. I don't have a degree in psychology. I have great respect for people in the mental health field. I worked with great people at the jail in the mental health field. And people ask, well, why did you write the book? Why go to all that trouble to write a book or get into writing? And writing helped me through burnout. I was a former burnout. I had a burnout phase, and luckily, I got through it. I had two great kids. I had a wonderful wife, and uh, got through it. And I turned to writing to make. Well, I'll get to this in a little bit, but it helped me through it. Writing really helped me through it. And I observed many good people that I worked with become stressed out. Uh, I remember some people saying, I got to get out of here. I can't work this job. And this is after they've gone through the academy. They have a couple of years on. And corrections can be a very, very good career. You can move up, you can get promoted, you can learn things. And some of the people that I worked with just wanted out because of the stress. And it was very, very, very sad. One officer told me, I went up on one of the floors, and he was going to pull an inmate out for me to talk to, and he told me, he says, hey, he has to get out of here. He has to get out of the field. And I said, why? And not going to say any names or anything. And he said, I just can't take this. I just got to get out of this. It's not for me. And to that day, I wondered uh, if he could have done anything differently about his stress, because we have good people that we're hiring. And one of the problems corrections is facing right now is retaining these people. Uh, I want it also to be part of the golden age of corrections training, because when I started in 1978, we didn't have PowerPoint, we didn't have the internet, uh, and stress was starting to be talked about, but not as much as it is now. But in those 27 years, I saw so many good changes in corrections. Things like the equipment that we used, and some of the security equipment and so forth in the jail and everything. But I saw better training. I saw more data about what we know about inmates and offenders and so forth. And I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to contribute. But getting back to what I said a little bit earlier, I wanted to turn negatives into positives. I would come home tired. I would come home worn out. I would come home a little, I don't want to say angry, but a little mad, and geez, I got to do this tomorrow and I got to do it, over and over and so forth. And I found that writing allowed me to turn negatives into positives. What I could learn, what I learned, and if I could relay that, because people said, "Well, Gary, you have the gift of gab, and you're a pretty good writer." They told me that in high school and in college, and I said, "Well, if I could turn negatives into positives, that's what I wanted to do." And the other thing is that I wanted to leave a legacy and give back to the field. People have asked me, are there days that you miss working in the jail? Yes, there are. There are. And I miss the people I worked with. I miss the activities in the jail. I was a programs director for 8 years, and I miss seeing an inmate turn his or her life around and never come back. You get a feeling that, hey, you've done something really, really well to steer that inmate in the right direction. So I wanted to leave a legacy. And in my stress in service classes, I end with that. I say, you want to leave a legacy and give back. And when people are seeing you for the last time, uh, usually, in a funeral home, you would like them to say, hey, he or she, they were all right. He or she was all right. I learned a lot in his classes. I learned a lot. He was my supervisor. You want to leave that legacy. But I was a burnout. The stress of the job, long hours, and I had to learn to cope positively. And stress management, I have found out by teaching it, writing about it, it's a constant process because you have stress on the job, you have stress off the job. And to deal with it in a positive way takes effort, it takes awareness, and you have to change your reaction and how you deal with stress, and you have to work at it every day. Every day you have to work at it. Now, there's a couple of key concepts too. There's more data in this edition than there was in the second edition in 2005. It's longer, but I wanted to put more data in there. There's so many studies on stress, and there's so many good people like the center here doing good work about stress in corrections and law enforcement. So there's more data. And I wanted to write it in a way that an instructor or a trainer or just anybody working in the law enforcement field, in this case corrections, could pick up the book, read it, and get some good use out of it. So there's a lot more data. Corrections is facing more serious problems coming to light from 2005 to the present. So I go back about 20 years almost. And there are a lot more serious problems in corrections. And the problems are including, special populations. And what I mean by that, you have suicidal offenders, you have LGBTQ, keeping them safe, you have cultural diversity, training, you have gangs, you have mentally ill, lawsuits, negative public opinion. Some people in society, in the public, don't think we should use isolation so much. Some people think that jails should be defunded or as I've heard, shut down, and it's not very realistic because some people are very, very bad and they have to be incarcerated. And then you have the short staffing, the retention. And when I talk about short staffing, I'm doing a workshop next week in mid-September in Northern Virginia, one of my client academies. And I put a scenario in there about these are veterans and supervisors in the class, and I put a scenario in there that you have a person on your squad or on your team, and they're just saying they can't take it anymore, but they can't work in corrections anymore, and we have to turn that thinking around. And a lot of it, I'd say most of it is stress related. When you walk into a jail and you experience the noise, you might have people with mental health problems. You have people that are arrested for violent crime, and you have to get a handle on that because it is stressful. And when people say that they don't have any stress, we talk about that in my classes because stress is everywhere. But if you look at what the public is experiencing with stress, well, stress is part of life. And what is stressing us out, and this is in the book, I talk about the key five. Money, 64% people surveyed by the American Psychological Association 2019, they 64% said money, 60% said work, family responsibilities. You have kids, you have maybe you have a sick family member, you have a parent that needs care. Family responsibilities, almost half, 47%. And you have personal health concerns, 46%, and the economy, 49%. Everybody has stress. And some people have, I remember in one class early on when I started to teach this, I had a very nice gentleman from a corrections department, and he said, I don't have stress. And I said, okay. He said, I don't have stress in my life. Don't have any. And I said, how are you going to get home tonight? Because I knew the area. Well, I'm going to go this way. And I said, what if he had to go through a tunnel. And I said, what if the tunnel's backed up? There's a broken down car in the middle of the tunnel and you're delayed. You're sitting there in traffic. Oh boy, I tell you, there's your stress. There's a demand on you, and that's how you're reacting. So everybody has stress. The clarification is when I ask the classes, what's stress? Well, they might say bills. They might say, hey, being held over for half through the next shift, and I want to go home. I'm tired. I get called in on my day off. Those are the things that cause a reaction. Stress is the reaction, how we react, we react physically and mentally. And I think everybody here knows, the stress reaction and so forth, the stages. But the things causing us to react are called the stressors, and it's how we handle that reaction, how healthy we are physically and mentally, which is very, very important. So let's get back to corrections. Okay, what's stressing out correction staff? Well, you got offender-related causes. Offender-related causes could be things like, the way inmates are. Some of them are violent. Some of them are mentally ill. Some of them you really have to be careful around. Occupational, inherent to the job. You're working in a secure facility. There's more inmates than there are of officers. If you're in probation and parole, you have high caseloads. Organizational and administrative causes. You have to take orders from people. You can't get leave every time you want to. You're supposed to show up at a certain time. You could be short-staffed. Psychosocial causes, the scrutiny from the media, supervisors, and politicians, the conflicts at work and at home, social and emotional needs. Some people handle it differently. Some people are very social, they deal with the stress. Some people, they have trouble dealing with the stress. They get maybe emotional. Ego, status, and esteem. If you're stressed out, you might have less self-esteem. You might think that you're not doing the job as well as you could be. You might have self-doubt. Public criticism, defund the prisons. Lack of control. You can't pick and choose who's in your unit. You walk into a unit, you can't say, these are too many for me to handle. You have to handle them. The lack of control. You don't know how offenders are going to react sometimes to certain things, like they get bad news from their attorney or they get bad news from home. Work overload. Held for overtime. You're a shift supervisor. You report to the jail and you find out 3 people called in sick. You have a hospital run. People are at training. Sometimes you get there and the people have to get their training and they're not going to be on the job that day. Work overload. You might have a quiet shift. You might have a shift where a lot of things happen: fights, suicide, medical emergencies, what we called incompatibilities. 2 inmates aren't getting along, so you have to move them. There's all kinds of things that are happening. This is a big one. A lack of recognition and awards. Lack of recognition and awards. That comes up a lot in my classes. I ask people what's stressing them out. And they say it seems like some, not all the supervisors. I worked with some great supervisors, and I was a supervisor, and I'm not saying I was the world's best, but I, I I like to say thank you to my staff a lot. Just that little bit of recognition. Thank you. Hey, you did a good job, and so forth. Um, and when people don't hear that in a stressful occupation like corrections, it kind of gnaws at them. And there's more and more, and we could go on. So these things are, this is just a sampling of what's stressing out people in corrections. Now, there's a couple of key concepts: stress and stressors. We already talked about. Stress is your reaction, as you know. It's the reaction of the body and mind to any demand made upon it. It was coined by Hans Selye back, I guess, in the 1940s, maybe, or I don't know, can't put a date on it, but he's been known as the father of stress management or stress research. But it affects your physical and mental health. It has the physical effects and it has the mental effects. And in Selye's research, and this is also in the book, I went into the background, is that he was a doctor and he found that people said they were sick, but he couldn't find anything wrong with them. And that uh, started his research into stress. Another thing is we hear burnout a lot. You know, he's burned out. Did you hear he quit the job? She quit the job. She was a burnout. Well, there's 5 stages of burnout that I go into in the book. And this research goes back to the late 70s, early 80s, but to me, it's still current. There's a honeymoon stage where you're on the job and everything's good. It's like your honeymoon when you get married. It's fresh and exciting and so forth. But if you're a hard charger and you don't take care of yourself, then the second stage is your fuel shortage. You start running out of gas, really. And I went through all 5 stages. Then you have chronic symptoms like I don't feel well, I'm having headaches, I don't feel like eating, I can't sleep. And then there's a crisis stage, your fourth stage, which things could be bad at home, things could be bad at the job, you're arguing with people, uh, uh, you're so down on people and the job and life in general, you don't want to, nobody wants to work with you. And then the final stage is hitting the wall and it explodes. You explode. And people around you will be caught in the line of fire. And that means your loved ones, your spouse, your significant other, your kids, your friends, your family, the people you work with. When you explode, it's called hitting the wall. And one of the things that I learned in being a burnout is that you have to build an effective network of family and friends. And when you reach out to them, you reach out to them. And I learned to go home and talk to my wife about, oh, I had a bad day. And I think in law enforcement corrections, we have a tendency to keep things in. We're big and strong and nothing's supposed to bother us. Well, things bother you. You're human. You're human. And in my classes, I I uh, I ask people. Let's say that I give them the example that let's say you've just cut down an inmate who's tried to hang himself and he's gasping for air, and you're holding on to him till the medics get there, and he almost dies, and then he wakes up and he's begging you not to die, don't let him die, and he's sorry and so forth. And the medics get there, and the inmate's taken down to observation. He's getting medical treatment and so forth, the protocol. And your sergeant walks up and said, "Are you okay?" And are we trained? Is this the way we act if we wear a uniform and a badge? Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay, Sarge. I'm fine. I'm fine. In my classes, I go into talk to that person because maybe they are not fine. This is something that's going to stay with them for the rest of their life. Reach out to them. And if you're burning out, let people reach in. So you reach out to people and let people reach in. And that's very, very important to build that uh, rapport, that lifeline. But people say, well, how about the physical and behavioral signs? Well, you feeling out of it or dizzy, closing your jaw, grinding your teeth, digestive problems, um, diarrhea, upset stomach, nausea. I remember going up to the jail in my burnout days. And walking up to the jail, and my stomach got queasy. I still remember that. Sleeping problems, lack of libido, sexual problems, feeling fatigued, exhausted, and tired. And then you have the behavioral problems, psychological pressure, heightened alertness, irritability, difficulty making decisions, difficulty concentrating. And if you're working with criminal offenders, you have to be able to make decisions and you have to be able to concentrate. Feeling anxious, nervous, low self-esteem, nothing is good. Having suicidal thoughts, angry, having angry thoughts, feeling burned out. And these will take a toll if you let it. If you don't do anything about it, I should say. Now, another thing about the data, stress and corrections, is that there's some studies in the book. Correctional workers, 39% higher risk of suicide. Connecticut study in 2016, corrections officers in Connecticut working 15 years or more, 39% had high blood pressure and 50% were obese. And we have to be healthy. In one study, I believe in the book, it's Washington State, that post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD rates, in a correctional officer study, the rates were nearly equivalent to military veterans who served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so that's pretty serious. And so a big theme for me is we have to watch out for each other. We have to talk to each other and we have to help each other. And it's very, very important. There was another study I put in the book. This was from UC Berkeley, University of California at Berkeley, 2016. And a lot of them studied, a lot of corrections officers were surveyed. Exposure to violence was a serious concern. It was widespread. 30% reported being seriously injured on the job. Many officers reported depression. Many reported negative health, heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, digestive problems, headaches. And then there was some of them that reported having suicidal ideation or thoughts. 10% of the officers thought about committing suicide. 31% of those officers thought about it frequently or at some point in the past year. And 1 in 7 retired correctional officers thought about suicide. The point to note is many correctional officers suffer in silence. Only over 7 in 10 correctional officers have not told anyone they hold it in. And we can't hold it in. And I found that out personally. You can't hold it in. It's not going to go away. And but suicide in corrections is a problem. It is, and suicide in law enforcement. And we have to reach out to each other. We really, really have to. Now the effects. There's critical incident trauma. Now, critical incident trauma is, well, it's I'm going to go through these here, okay, and one right down the line, all right. But critical incident trauma is your exposure to a single event, such as an inmate death, assault, and it has an emotional impact in the world of the police officer. It may make the news, and the agencies are getting better at providing counseling and peer support. But it's a critical incident. you get help right away. It's there, but if you and you go back to being calm again, you live through the incident or you see the incident. But this is from O'Hara, did some good research in 2017. Cumulative trauma is the type of trauma that builds up over many, many years as the correctional officer is repeatedly exposed to serious and deadly incidents. And in my classes, I put up a picture of a roller coaster because if you follow my cursor, critical incident trauma, you go through the stress reaction, the alarm, and the fight or flight and all. And then once that incident is resolved or over, you kind of go back down to the pre-stress state. The cumulative trauma, then it'll happen again. The next incident will happen again because that's what life is like. But the cumulative trauma builds up over years and years and years, and you have to do something to deal with that. Post-traumatic stress disorder, that's a problem in corrections, and correctional fatigue. And correctional fatigue is you're tired. You feel worn out. Correctional fatigue. Now, PTSD, it's talked about a lot. It is serious. Some of the symptoms are nightmares, memories, flashbacks. Cut off emotionally from family or friends. If you remember the movie, those of you who've ever seen the movie, if you haven't, it's a good study in PTSD, which is the Clint Eastwood directed movie, American Sniper. It was the story of Chris Kyle, who went overseas, fought in Iraq, and he had PTSD, and it was his how he dealt with it. He was over there for I think 4 tours, but the movie is very, very good study of how he cut himself off of the family. He was constantly thinking about, and he was there for the family, but he wasn't there. Okay, and he was physically there, but emotionally, mentally, he wasn't there. His mind was back in Iraq with his guys. There's depression, difficulty with personal relationships. It's very, very hard to have a personal relationship with somebody that's suffering from PTSD. They need help, and you have negative moods, and those are only some of the things about PTSD. Feeling depressed, difficulty sleeping, difficulty focusing on something, and so forth. Some people use alcohol and drugs. Suffering from PTSD, it's a numbing effect. Negative moods, frequent accidents, and sometimes they explode if they ask how they're doing, and the person might explode and rant and rave about how bad the job is and so forth. So this is a real problem. And the State University of New York, Dr. Richard Blum did a really good research in it, and I put it in the book. And I've met him over email and phone. Very, very nice man, and he let me use his findings. Now, the thing is about what are we going to do about this stress? I mean, it's not going to go away. It's you have to deal with it. You have to learn to deal with this. And one of the things is positive coping with stress. What's your attitude? Do I want to feel healthy? Do I want to feel relaxed? Do I want to go home and sit and practice straw breathing? Because I tell my classes deep breathing does work. But what is your attitude? Or are you kind of negative coping, which is go home and sit and kill a 6-pack of beer? And you wake up a few hours later and there's empty beer cans all around your chair, and that's how you're dealing with it. Or maybe you're not exercising, you're not feeling right. Instead of exercising, you overeat. You have to have that positive coping attitude. The appendices in the back of the book, I put some stuff in there about coping with stress, the positive attitude. You have to want to deal with it in a positive way, something that can help you, make you feel better mentally, physically. And if you feel better mentally and physically, you're going to have better relations with your coworkers, your supervisors, the inmates too, because when you're stressed out and you rant and rave, the inmates don't want to be around you, and your family, your loved ones. The second thing is you want to have a balanced lifestyle. You want to do good things for yourself mentally, and you want to do good things for yourself physically. Now, I don't run marathons, okay? I know people that do, that they run the 5K and all that kind of stuff. But I found some things that I do that work for me at my age, and I'm retired. I found some physical things that really make me feel good, and I found some mental things, the hobbies, movies, road trips, sightseeing, that make me feel good too. You have to make a commitment to change bad habits. I used to be a smoker, and I put my own story in the book. I used to be a smoker, and I used to overeat a lot. Now, I'm not saying that I will be in the Olympics. No, that won't happen. But I realized that what I was doing mentally and physically was not good for me, and it was not good for my family, and it was not good for the people I had to work with. So you have to make, and it takes energy, it takes commitment to change the bad habits. And the other thing is you have to have communications with others. When people say, "Hey, are you all right, Gary? You okay?" If you're not all right, tell them you're not all right. If you get home and your spouse, significant other says, "Hey, how was your day?" Don't snap at them. "Oh, you know how my day was." Talk to them. Open up with them. This goes for your supervisors, the people you work with, your family members, your friends. One of the problems, and this is a whole other area I do training, is manipulation. Um, Inmate manipulation, if you work in corrections. And if inmates see that you're stressed out and you end up talking to them instead of people that could really help you and watch out for you, these inmates will use you. They will use you. And so open up the communications with people important in your life that can help you. Now, supervisors play a role too. You know, you get promoted, you get the brass on your collar, you get the stripes on your arm. And there's a couple things that the supervisors can do. That number one, well, let's put it this way. If the supervisors are stressed out, that's going to filter down to their staff. And nobody's going to want to go up to that supervisor, or you're going to avoid that supervisor. So the supervisors have stress. They have to learn how to control their stress. Number two, helping their staff cope. Employee assistance programs, peer support, things which you're doing online with the center. Steer people to those really good things, agencies, people that can help them. Okay. Get to know your people. If you think a person that you're in charge of is stressing out, they're not themselves, take them aside, see how they're doing. Ask them how they're doing. Are you okay? Is there anything you want to talk about? I call it the magic questions. You have to really do this. The other thing, if you're a supervisor, is improving the working conditions. If people are complaining and the complaints are valid, do something to try to make their job easier. This is I know I went through this fast, but there are three things that supervisors can do. Now, the other thing is towards the end of the book, I talk about making your life plan, because it's not where you get up in the morning and say, I'm not going to have any stress today. It takes time. It takes commitment. And we know that life is unpredictable. But not one thing is learn the the 8 dimensions of wellness: physical, proper diet, nutrition, exercise; intellectual, creative abilities, learning; environmental, pleasant, stimulating surroundings. Like my wife said, your home should be your no crap zone, which is, there's truth to that, right? Emotional, coping effectively with life, caring relationships; financial, be secure financially. I'm not saying you're rich, but you're good with money. You don't get into a lot of debt, because that can stress you out too. Social, being connected with others. Spiritual, have a sense of meaning to life, whatever faith you believe in. And occupational, having a sense of satisfaction about work. That's 8 dimensions of wellness. They work if you know what they are and attain them. The mirror test is, I talk about in my classes about looking in the mirror. Do you like what you see? Do you look tired? Do you look worn out? Do you really like looking like that? Do you like what you see? And then I tell my classes, imagine all the people behind you, standing behind you: your spouse, significant other, husband, wife, kids, friends, mother, father. Do they like what you look like in the mirror? So the mirror test. The SMART approach is, what are you going to do about stress? If you make an approach, SMART means specific. Instead of saying I want to improve my health, say a month from now I want to be 5 pounds down. I swim laps. I love swimming laps. I started out with 25, and in 2 weeks I want to have 30, do 30. Now I'm up to 50 every time I go. I feel great when I come out of the pool. It's good for me. My doctor said it's good for me. So uh, it's specific. And also, let me go back here a little bit. Also, be measurable. Walking 1 mile per day. Getting an agreement on your goals. Agreement. Talk to your family. Say, hey, I'm stressing out. I don't feel good. I'm carrying around too much weight. Be reachable. Goals should be specific. If you want to lose weight, don't say you're going to lose it 20 pounds in 1 week. That's not very, very realistic. And be timed. Use dates. If you cannot quit smoking quickly, make sure your goal is to go down a half a pack a day within a couple of weeks, and then maybe phase it out in about a month. But time is important. Have it where you can time it. That's something I put in there. It's called the SMART approach. The other thing is, look at your mind and how you think. And I got this from Ellen Kirschbaum, who does a lot of work with police officers, and she calls it stinking thinking, of how you might panic. Let's say your agency says, well, we're going to have to cut our budget by 5%. And stinking thinking would be, oh my God, they're going to cut 5%. They're going to fire me. I'm not going to have a job. We're not going to be able to pay the mortgage. Relax. Relax. And as a very good mental health worker told me once when I started to get into this, he said, Gary, worry is the interest on a debt that may never come due. And I've always tried to remember that. Don't panic. Your supervisor might say, hey, that search was sloppy, and I don't like sloppy searches. Well, don't come home and yell at the wife, oh, they're going to fire me because I did a sloppy search and the supervisor said he doesn't like sloppy searches. Just improve your searches. But stinking thinking is panic. And I think it's Ellen Kirschman is in the book. Okay. To start closing this off, making your life plan. Do you relax? Do you relax? Now, relax doesn't mean you relax on a beach somewhere with a nice cold frosty beer in your hand. Relax could mean you just come home and you just tune out the noise, you do some deep breathing, you relax. You might put your headphones on, listen to music. I do that in the car when I'm on a road trip. I find that the music I play that I grew up with relaxes me. There's all these different kinds different ways to relax. Also, use an employee assistance program and peer support programs. They're very good. We have a lot of them now. Agencies are investing in them. They really can help. Also, emotional intelligence. Be a role model for the people that love you and support you. And when this is from Mike Patero at American Military University, great guy. And he said, when you're at work, think of work. When you're at home, think of home. When you're at the gym, think of the gym. Okay. But emotional intelligence means you want to be a role model. You want to be someone that can be looked up to, and that can help. And there's also a couple of agencies that I put in the book too. Counseling Team International, a friend of mine, Nancy Bowl, is on their board. She's a very, very dear friend of mine, and they are based in California. They do a lot for first responder stress, and Cortigo Guardian. They have a wellness app that I put into the book too, a little description of that. The Kentucky Department of Corrections Critical Incident Support debriefing team, I believe it is, and it helps the officers with critical incidents. And many Department of Corrections now are doing this, which is good. The Center for Mindfulness and Public Safety. I think it's great what you all are doing. I really do. Also, the Public Safety Peer Support Association, which is affiliated with the counseling team. And Nancy Bowl, a friend of mine, is very active in that. And I went out to their conference in 2022 and met some really nice folks and talked about correction stress and so forth. In the back of the book, I'm not going to go into a lot of it here, but I wanted to part with advice, and so I have an appendix on having a healthy diet, physical activity and exercise, and positive coping. Some methods to positive coping with stress. So stress is real. It can be dangerous if it's not managed properly or not dealt with properly, but there are ways we can prevent it from really doing a number on our physical health and our mental health. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak. I know Robert and I've talked to this for a long time. I'd be glad to come in and do it again. For your time and attention. And it's evening time, and it's towards the end of the day, but I really thank you for your time and attention. And I thank you also for your service. And that's my name title. And if you ever need advice or anything I can help you with, or I have a pretty good library. You can probably see it behind me. It's pretty packed with stuff, but I like sharing, and I like helping people in this area, stress management and the training and so forth. So that is my email, and please feel free to email me anytime. I see we have some chats. John?
Gary, thank you so much. I think, Gary, maybe what we'll do is we'll have you stop sharing the screen.
Okay.
I can just do that like that, and I'm sure
right.
we have some questions. Sherry has her hand up if you're still open for some dialogue.
Nope.
No, Sherry?
Okay.
Well, let's open it up. I'm sure we have some COs on the call. We have quite a variety of folks here.
So again,
Yeah,
thank you
my
so much.
screen
Gary.
is flickering a little bit. I don't know why. So there we go. Okay, it's gone. I'll just click on the chat box there and see what we have.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Let's see. Do you have any question? Oh, I'm in mental health this year. This is from Rafi.
You're from Rafi.
Okay, I'm in mental health this year, but I'm thinking to get back to corrections at some point, but in administrative or caseworker roles. Yeah, Rafi, stress is everywhere in corrections, no matter what job you have. Okay, so best of luck to you. And if there's anything I can do, just shoot me an email. Okay, John, I'm going to X this out here. There we go. Okay.
And John, you've got your hand up.
Oh, John, hello.
Sorry, by mistake. Hey, Gary, how you doing?
I'm doing fine, sir. I liked your recent article on Corrections Today. So,
And the same article appeared in American jails. And it was on chronic stress.
Yep. So nice to put a name with a face. Okay.
Exactly.
John is one of my email buddies.
Yep.
I certainly want to thank you, Gary, for your time and your expertise and your dedication over these many years working on this issue and certainly trying to get back to the field. I entered corrections not kind of around the same time, a little bit earlier than you. And you're right. There's been so many changes over time and the professionalism that has come and a lot of that you brought and supported. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Gary. Who was it? Did I get the name right? Who was just speaking?
That was me, Robert.
Oh, Robert. Okay. Okay. You know, I don't do too many of these, but I'm getting better. Okay.
It's all good. We do appreciate your time and expertise and everything you try to do, Gary, and maybe we can come back and do it again sometime.
Love to.
So we will say good night and be well.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. Gary, thank you so much for your time and for all your good work in writing.
Okay. Well, thanks. Anything I can do for the center, just give me a shout.
Very much appreciate that, Gary. So we'll be in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Good to see you.